excited to welcome you to day 3 of the 12 Days of Career Goals. Are you navigating your career path feeling like there is something missing, despite maybe even ticking all those traditional boxes of success? Or have you ever wondered if there is more to work than just earning a paycheck? If any of those questions ever crossed your mind, then you are in the right place right here at the right time. Because today's live session, Identify Your Work Values, is for professionals like you who are seeking more than just a job title or a paycheck or a salary. For those of us who are actually looking to find meaning or satisfaction or fulfillment in our careers. And in a world where the nature of work is constantly evolving, just think about all the AI that came out this year. Aligning your career with our core values has become even more important. Understanding and honoring our values can really be the key to finding a career that not only brings success, but also fulfillment and joy and makes us come alive. If you've ever felt a disconnect between your job and your personal values, or if you're looking to make a career move that aligns more closely with your values or what truly matters to you, then you definitely do not want to miss today's session. I'm so excited that this is day 3 of the 12 Days of Career Goals. I'm Teresa White, Career Clarity Coach and the founder of Career Bloom, and I am thrilled to be joined by Yauhan today. He is an organizational psychologist, change management advisor, LinkedIn top voice, and an amazing career coach. Yauhan's expertise in empowering professionals and his personal journey make him the absolute perfect expert to join in today's conversation. So without further ado, let's bring Yauhan to the stage. Yauhan, welcome. So great to have you.
Hello, Teresa. I am so honored to be here with you today on LinkedIn Live and live on all the other channels as well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on this special day 3 of 12 Days of Career Days.
I could not be more excited to talk about career values with you. But since it is the festive season, I want to start this off with a festive question. And I'm wondering, have you ever received an unusual or totally unexpected holiday gift?
I think I won't mention this on live if I received any unusual gifts. That might be TMI, too much information to reveal. But I will say that this year for Christmas, even though it's not Christmas yet, I have received a gift. So my wife planned a getaway for the entire family, and we are going to be going to Orlando this Saturday, and we're going to be going to Disney and Universal. So
Oh my God, that is so exciting.
super excited about that. Um,
I am really happy for you.
yeah. So that's something I'm definitely looking forward to.
That's amazing. And thank you for those in the audience who are dropping in a hi already. Lisa, it is amazing to see you here. Thanks for joining. We have Yokesh from Canada joining. Thank you for being here. If anyone else is joining in live, please drop a hi in the chat. Let us know. And I would love to hear from the audience as well. What is one unusual or unexpected holiday gift that you have gotten for the holidays? Let's share that with each other and bring some holiday spirit into the
Do
conversation.
you want to share, Teresa? Is there something you received that was unexpected or unusual?
I think as far as unusual, so my birthday falls on Christmas. I'm
Ah,
born December 24th, which in Germany is Christmas. We celebrate Christmas
right.
Eve. So I'm used to celebrating birthday in the morning and Christmas in the evening. So there's been a few times where I got like a left shoe for my birthday and a right shoe for Christmas. Or like if there's a matching outfit, I got like the pants for my birthday and the top for Christmas. So like getting like single shoes, like just a right shoe or left shoe, is always been like kind of an unusual gift.
Oh, that is fun. And now we all know when Teresa's birthday is. So remember to wish
That
her
is true.
on December 24th/25th.
Thank you, y'all. So let's dive into career values. And I would love for you to share moments in your career that led you to realize the importance of our work aligning with our values. Were there any moments where you realized like, oh, this is actually really important that my work aligns with my personal values?
Yeah, yeah. So before before I dive into this question, Teresa, I think it's important. Okay, so we have quite a few people joining over here. Hello, everyone. Hello, Amy, joining from Tampa, Florida. So I'm going to be very, very close to you, Amy, in just a few more days. And then we have my friend Ifunaya joining from Toronto. Welcome, Ifunaya. Thank you so much for joining. So before I answer this question, I think it's important for us to know what values are, because people define it in many different ways. So for me, work values are basically any work related qualities, principles, and standard that truly matter to you. And knowing what your work values are can not only help you plan a career, but it also helps you look for opportunities in your current role or to make a current change, right? And if you can really identify and align with your values, that makes a world of a difference. So in terms of moments in my career, there actually have been quite a few moments in my career where I realized, the importance of values. Unfortunately, it wasn't the earlier part of my career. It was, in the last few years that I've realized. So in my current role with Deloitte, I purposefully chose a role that was work from home. So that helped me in maintaining work life balance, because I have three now young kids at home. It was also a role where I knew that the manager was someone who would provide lots of feedback, lots of positive, recognition. This is something I seek. I look for, doing good work and then getting acknowledged for that work. So recognition is an important, value for me. The other value for me that's important is collaboration. And what I was told in my current role at Deloitte is, we will be a part of a small team where all of us will collaborate together, as opposed to everyone working in silos. So this was another instance where I was purposeful in knowing what my values are, and what the work values are, and making sure those align. And I cannot tell you how satisfied I am and how fulfilled I feel, because of aligning, my values purposefully with the values of the role. So
Thank you so
that's one current instance. Before that, when I started doing consulting, again, I was given the choice of, taking something that was travel or no travel. And I purposely chose, even though I was getting a pay cut in salary, I purposefully chose a role which involved little to no traveling. Again, because I was newly married, and we wanted to stay close to each other. So there have been quite a few instances in my life where I was mindful of the roles I picked based on my values.
Thank you for sharing that, Johan. I think that is so important because there can be so much external pressure in our lives where it feels like, oh, you should go for the role with the highest title or with the most pay. But if we actually pause and be like, is that actually what I want deep down? Or are there values that are more important? And there's nothing wrong if earning a lot of money is one of your top values. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But if your values are work-life balance or remote work or family time, that is equally valuable. And it is okay to prioritize those.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely important to prioritize those. And before you prioritize those, it's important to know what those are, and make a list for yourself. So that's something I do as part of my practice as well, is having people go through that list and then pick out the top five, right? That resonate with them.
I love that you do that. And actually, I would love to hear more about how you guide professionals in recognizing and aligning their work values with their career choices.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to share that. So, a lot of the people who I support, Teresa, when I begin supporting them, they don't know too much about values, right? And then I have to explain to them that, you spend 40 hours and sometimes even more of your time at your work every single day. But have you ever stopped to think about your personal work values, right? And it's important, for both employees and employers to be in alignment with that, right? Because this synergy is what creates, harmony for the employee, and more productivity for the employee working over there, and also beneficial from an employer perspective. And you have someone who is more motivated, more energized coming to work. So the first thing,
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah. So the first thing I do is I give them a list of different values, right? So these can be personal values, and some examples of personal values could be accountability, attention to detail, reliability, honesty, autonomy, right? So these are some examples of personal values that people would have. And then I give them a list of work values. And work values could be things like work life balance, recognition, right? As being an expert known by people for doing something. Challenging work can be a value for some people. Competition, believe it or not, is a value that drives a lot of people and motivates a lot of people. And then there are other ones such as a chance to help others, right? So helping people either one-on-one or groups, chance to make a difference in society, right? So doing something that is worthwhile or beneficial to society as a whole. So those are some work-related innovation, creativity. Those are some work-related values. And then I give them definitions of each one of those values,
Mhm.
and I asked them that, having looked at the definitions, reflect back on your previous work and think about times where you really felt energized and in sync and fulfilled at work, and which of these values were being met for you, and also times where you did not feel fulfilled, you did not find the work to be meaningful, and which of the values were out of sync, right? So that's
Mhm.
kind of looking at the recent past, not too much, but the recent past. And then we look at the future, and I tell them that, out of these list of 50 different values, what are the absolute, 10 things that you need in your next role, and I want you to
Yeah.
prioritize them 1 to 10, right? And when they go through that exercise, it becomes very clear that some people are driven by money, some people are driven by flexibility, some people never want to go back into the office, right? Some people don't want a location that is any more than 30 minutes away from their home. Some people want managerial kind of roles where they have authority, versus some people are more than happy to work under leadership. So that's the process.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Johan. That was, excuse me. I really love your process of guiding people through the step by step, because it's hard when you're just being asked, what are your work values? Most people are like, I don't know, like, where would I even start? But I love your process of looking in the past, finding moments where you were aligned with your values or weren't aligned, and then thinking in the future. And I also love the tool of prioritizing, that you know which one are actually your number one and two and three, because we can't find a career. Well, maybe we can, but it's hard to find a career that matches 25 of our values. That would be very difficult, and we probably wouldn't even know how to make that match.
Yeah.
But if we know, like, okay, these are my top five, those are my non-negotiables, I can then go out and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm looking for, and I can find something that aligns with it.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And it's so important, Teresa, to spend time upfront doing this, because otherwise you're going to end up in a job where you might be really good at the job, but for some reason you feel empty. For some reason you feel dissatisfied, and you're not sure what this dissatisfaction is being caused by, and that's because you haven't taken the time to understand what's most important to you, which are your values.
Absolutely. And I love this theme is carrying through the first week of this live series. We talked about this on day one and two as well, is that before we make a change, it is so important to pause for a moment and look inward
Hmm.
before we then go outward. And yes, absolutely. And from your perspective, Johan, how do identified work values then impact job satisfaction or career fulfillment?
Yeah, so we touched upon this a little bit, but I cannot emphasize enough, Teresa, how important identifying and align with your work values, has a direct correlation to both job satisfaction as well as career fulfillment. So there have been numerous studies, time and again, that have shown that, employees, on average, employees say their work is half as meaningful as it could be, right? And people are, more than 50% of people are dissatisfied at work. And a big part of this is not because they cannot perform the job, or it's something that is challenging for them in terms of a work perspective. It's because they haven't taken the time to understand their values and align that with the organizational values. So in addition to finding values, I think we have to think about why go through this process of aligning the values, right? And one of the key things is career fulfillment. We spend more time sometimes at work with our peers, with our colleagues, than we do at home, right? With our spouses, with our families, our children. And so if you spend so much of your time at work, it just makes a lot of sense to identify what is it that you're looking for in your next role. What is it that matters most to you? What is it that is most important to you? Is it money? Is it relationships? Is it the type of work environment? Is it the boss? Is it a combination of all of these things, right? And at the same time, it's also important to know that we as human beings, we want something that fulfills us internally, right? And our values really will help us achieve that fulfillment. So it's not just satisfaction and fulfillment, even other factors such as absenteeism, right? So the amount of times you will call in sick, turnover, so the percentage in which you will leave the organization, your work productivity, the way you show up at work, all of these inherently are tied to your values, right? And that's why it's so important to go through that practice.
I love how you emphasized that, or actually also highlighted that there's so many people that are unfulfilled in their jobs. And that was me at one point. That's what brought me to where I am today. But it is when I look back, I'm like, yes, all my values were out of sync. It just didn't align. I had studied sustainability and then working for international transportation company. Like that did not go together whatsoever. And every day I felt like wrong about what I'm doing and supporting here at my work, because with my personal value, that just wasn't like, I had to upsell customers into cars that burn more fuel. Then in my mind, I was like, man, can we just only have hybrid cars so we can save the environment? So that was an internal battle I was facing every day. And at that point, I just thought like, wow, this is what I should be doing to move up in my career, to become a manager, to grow in the company. And I didn't give myself permission to stop and really strong inside of me.
And you bring up a good point, Teresa, that it's not just about, aligning your values to the role. I think it's about aligning the values to the organization, and
Mm-hmm.
aligning your values sometimes even broader to the industry. So, for
Yes.
example, I know certain people who would never work for like a gaming company, or a company that, for example, like a casino, right, where there's
Yeah.
gambling involved. Or I know people who would never work for an alcohol or tobacco company, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
because of their values, their religious, points of view, restrictions, and all of this. So you have to look from an industry perspective, does that make sense and align with your values? And then from a company and culture perspective as well. Like you said, you were trying to sell cars that emitted so much, CO2 into the atmosphere, right? And for someone like you, it wouldn't make sense, because you are, supporting and putting in your hours for a company that's polluting the environment. And if you care for the environment, that is not in sync with your values, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure all of us have worked for companies where we just really desperately wanted the job, right? So it didn't matter
Yeah.
what the company was, what they were doing, the kind of products they were selling, or the services they were offering. We just wanted a job, and that's why we took on the job. But I can bet you that you did not stay in that job for too long if your values did not align with the company values.
I was actually with them for 8 years, so it was a
Oh,
long time.
wow.
Different positions, but I was there for a very long time. There were obviously a lot of goods and bads to it,
Yeah.
but I'll tell that story another day. Um, but yeah, I feel like for me, a big shift came when I realized that I'm allowed to pay attention to my values, that I don't have to follow all the shoulds in society of like, I should have a prestigious job, I should be making a lot of money, I should do this, I should do that. I'm like, no, I can actually pause and stop and reflect on myself, and is that aligning with what I really want in my life? And that was a big moment for me to realize, like, no, this just isn't where I want to be.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And one thing I would love to hear from you, Yauhan, because you just mentioned you have 3 kids, you have a wife. How do you personally balance your values with your role outside of, well, with your different roles outside of work?
Yeah, no, I will tell you, Teresa, that it's not easy. It is definitely very challenging to make a balance between, family life, work life, and pursuing my passion as well for coaching. I think what's really important is having a supporting partner, which I have in my wife. She is, extremely supporting, extremely understanding of, what is it that I want to do, and I do the same thing for her as well. My wife is an entrepreneur. She's a leadership and executive coach, also very active on LinkedIn, in case in case you want to find her and follow her. And yeah, she's got a busy schedule, I've got a busy schedule, but we still make things work out because we sit down, we know what we want collectively, what our values are in terms of doing good work, in terms of serving society, in terms of being good role models for our children. So those are kind of like our top 3 4 values, right? So even though work can be quite hectic and sometimes we have to go into the evenings and work into the evenings, we still try to maintain that balance and support each other, as long as our values are being met. So this is the question I get all the time is, how do you balance everything? And for me, anytime I find that I'm going overboard with my work, I purposefully reflect, take a pause, and I will cut down in terms of the amount of work that I do. This is not for work. At work, I can control and cut down on the amount of work I do, but this is in my coaching practice. I will purposefully, not take on as many people, even though they're ready and ready to go. It just doesn't align with, it doesn't align with me being overworked and then not serving my children after that.
That's beautiful that you are setting those boundaries. And I feel like it's a question that's often asked of women, but not as often as of men, of like, how do you balance all of this? And it affects everyone, right? Even if you don't have a family, you have outside responsibilities, um, hobbies. Those are all important for us, and we should never feel like we can't, like, maybe you don't have kids, but you have a hobby that's really important to you, and it impacts you if you lose that time to go to your yoga practice or whatever it is that's important to you, and also that community that comes with it. So knowing what our priorities are outside of work and at work, and then when things feel off, and hitting the brakes and saying like, okay, stop, this isn't right now, how can I realign? I absolutely love that you and your wife do that together. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, and we've done this, because my oldest one is now 9 years old. So we've done this for many, many years now. And there are times it gets really tough when there is, I have a meeting and she has a meeting at the same time. But for the most part, we have our calendars in sync where we both won't have a meeting together, or we won't have like back-to-back meetings, so it becomes a burden on the other person to watch the kids for, like, especially the baby now, for 3 4 hours at a stretch. I know I can't do that, watching a little one for 3 hours at a stretch. So I tell her to kind of pace herself with her meetings, and thankfully she's been very understanding. So I think it requires a lot of upfront communication, a lot of understanding, and care, like just care and for each other, and being supportive with each other. So I wouldn't say it's me balancing things and me doing all of this amazing things with limited time. I think it takes a whole village, right? We also have support from family. So we have some family who live close by. So at the instance where I have meetings and she needs to attend a conference, we call in our family members and they step in and they help as well.
It's amazing to hear that it's okay to reach out for help. And in the end, communication is everything.
Absolutely.
Communication at work if your values out of sync at work, being able to have that relationships at work that you can communicate it, and communication inside the family, inside the home, to communicate something is not right, or how can we make things better so this works for all of us. Because in the end, we all want to thrive at work, at home. We all win when everyone feels they can do their best work, or can bring their best selves to the family or to their work.
Totally, absolutely, yes. Yeah.
And Yauhan, I would love to hear how you see the concept of work values changing. Like, I mean, especially 2023 has been this crazy, rapidly evolving job market, work environment, AI, like so much is happening. How do you see work values changing?
Yeah, I think at an individual level, I'll speak at an individual level first, right? At an individual level, I think we all have to recognize and appreciate the fact that your values can change and evolve over time. So I'll give you my example. When I was in the early part of my career, as a young consultant, I was really driven by challenging work, and I was really driven by money, right? So it was all about doing good work, taking on difficult projects, and earning as much money as possible. Now, those values are not even in my top 10. Money is not even in my top 10. Challenging work is not something that's most important to me right now. For me, right now, like I said earlier as well, it's work life balance, working with a good team, doing good work, making an impact to the people I work with, and then making an impact in society as well, which I do through my coaching practice. So people's values change over time. And then, if you look at society as a whole, also I feel, societal values have changed and evolved over time. So if you look at, maybe our parents, right? They definitely had values around loyalty, right? So
Mhm.
they would stay with one employer either their entire life, or would switch only maybe one or two jobs during their entire career. The concept of loyalty is thrown out of the window with people of our generation, right? We don't care so much about sticking with the company throughout our tenure. It's very hard if you find a Gen Y or Gen Z who believes in that, right? So that was a big shift. And then, of course, when COVID came, COVID shifted things quite a bit as well, where working from home at that point before COVID was a luxury, right? Not too many jobs were remote work from home, but now most of the jobs, I would say, are hybrid, right? So it's a combination of people going into the office and working from home. So that concept did not exist, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, at the onset of COVID. I think as we move more, and as Gen Z and the generation after that begin to enter the workforce, I think we will have a new set of values that would matter for these people. So we already know that Gen Z don't prefer to be working from one place, right? What they care about is, give me the work, I will deliver the work. Don't ask me where I'm working from, how I'm working. As long as I give you quality products, on time, that's what matters, right? The other thing that people of the Gen Z generation value is multiple sources of income, right? So it's not just about having one full-time vocation. It is about, okay, I have my full-time job, but then I also want to think about other passions of mine, other interests of mine, and then possibly convert those into side career options, right? So there's going to be, and now with AI taking the world by storm, I'm sure there's going to be so many other different ways where technology is going to advance. And you never know, maybe people are no longer using laptops. There might be other technology that people are using, and people are doing more of the nomadic lifestyle, where it's not, you don't have to be in the specific country even to work. You can be anywhere in the world. So I expect to see more and more of that.
I love those insights. And yes, I agree. The world is changing. I mean, it's ever evolving, but we can't even predict what our work lives are going to look into in 5 or 10 years. As you said, we might not even be working on computers anymore.
Mhm.
You can't even imagine this right now, but who knows what is going to come. So also recognizing that things are changing, and it's about finding what works for us right in this moment, and not necessarily having to focus on like, okay, this is different from what was 5 years ago, and that's okay. And it will be different again in 5 years, because I'm changing, the environment is changing, and our values are going to change. And whenever we get to a point where that is no longer in sync, then it might be time for a change, a small
Absolutely.
pivot, a larger change, whatever it is that you can do to realign with where you are today.
Yes, yes. It's a constant process of alignment, realignment, adjustment. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And Johan, appreciate these amazing insights that you shared with us. Oh, love that you just dropped in the question. Drop in the chat. What was your biggest learning from today? Please share that with us. And also, if you have any questions, this is also the time to drop those into the chat so we can be here and answer them for you. And while people think about dropping their biggest learnings into the chat, Johan, please share with us how people can get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely, Teresa. So I'm not very big on social. I don't have, like a Instagram or TikTok, or YouTube, any of that. I'm pretty simple, straightforward that way. I just have one social media platform that I use, which is LinkedIn. So if you want to get in touch with me, Teresa has kindly shared my profile link. You can definitely add me on LinkedIn. Let me know you tuned in to the live with Teresa and myself, and I would be more than happy to have you as part of my network.
You definitely, Johan is someone you absolutely have to connect with. He shares so much advice and tips. I think you post almost daily, right?
I try to. I try to. It's been not so much daily these days with the little one at home, but yeah, at least twice or thrice a week.
Yes. And Johan's posts are always like, I always take some wisdom away when I read your posts. So he is
Thank you.
someone you absolutely want to and need to follow. Let's see here. We see some in the chat. It's easier to know what values you don't want than the ones you do want. I love that insight. And actually, I sometimes have clients start with that. If they don't know what they want, we start with what do you not want? And if you know what you don't want and you write those things down, then we'll think like, okay, what is the opposite to that?
Mm.
So what do you not want? I don't want to work nights and weekends anymore. Oh, so maybe what you do want is either a flexible schedule or an 8 to 5, or I don't want to. A lot of times after COVID, people said, I just don't want to be stuck at home and just work from home anymore. So maybe what you want is, do you want to go back into the office? Do you want to work a hybrid schedule? Do you want to look for a coffee shop that you can work at from? Do you want to look for co-working spaces? So the don'ts are just important clues as the do's. Any thoughts on that, Johan?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I do that as well, Amy, as part of my practice is I create a list of, the non-negotiables, which are the absolute must-haves and the things you don't want. And I see a lot of the similar things what Teresa just said. I also see a lot of people don't want, especially the younger folks, don't want a manager who's always watching them.
Yeah.
So someone who micromanages is something that always comes up on that list as well. And in terms of a work environment, I feel also the Gen Z, they prefer a more light, fun kind of a work environment, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to a very hierarchical organizational structure. They prefer the flatter, more relaxed structure, and more flexibility that way.
Yeah, I agree. And then you can, when you realize like, this is what I don't want, then you can think of like, okay, what do I want instead? What would it look like if it were different?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks for dropping this in, Amy. That was such a great insight to end on. And wow, what a fantastic discussion, Johan. Your insights have been amazing. And I'm so, so grateful that you joined us today. So thank you so much for being here with us today. And I hope that you and your family are going to have a beautiful holiday season and an amazing time in Orlando.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for inviting me to this LinkedIn Live. I was so honored when you picked me. I know all 12 of your guests are super impressive, high profile coaches, and I was honored when I got that message from you saying, Johan, would you like to join? So thank you so much. Thank you for picking me, and happy holidays. Happy holidays to you, your husband, your two little kids as well, and everyone in your family, and for everyone joining over here as well. If we don't get a chance to connect before the holidays, happy holidays to all of you. Wishing you lots of good wishes and blessings for the season.
Thank you, Johan. It was really, really special to have you here today. And we'll be talking soon.
Definitely. Thank you, Teresa. Have a nice day.
You too. Well, that was such an incredible conversation with Johan. Thank you to the audience for being here with us today. Thank you for dropping your wisdom in the chat and participating on this event today. And I want you to keep in mind that this was only day 3 of our 12 Days of Career Goals series. So we have 9 more days filled with invaluable discussions, incredible expert advice. And as Johan said, we have some really top-notch career coaches coming on here, some amazing experts that have great advice waiting for you. So make sure that you do sign up on the 12 Days of Career Goals, which is completely free, just like today's event, so that you don't miss out on getting the daily link to the daily live event. And when you sign up on the 12 Days of Career Goals, you also have the chance to win amazing prizes, because I'm going to be giving away some really amazing prizes that you can see right here. So the biggest win you can take away is to get a brand new resume from me, from Career Bloom. So this is a huge one. I've never done this before. I don't know if I'll ever do this again, to give away a full resume. I'm also giving away a one-on-one deep dive coaching session with me. So I'm a career clarity coach. If you are feeling lost and not sure what you want to do next in your career and looking for that clarity, that one-on-one deep dive session is going to be a total game changer for you. I'm giving away a standard LinkedIn profile, so a complete overhaul of your LinkedIn profile, and I will make it shine and have recruiters attracted to your profile. And then last but not least, I have the Ultimate Transferable Skills Guide, where that helps you to identify your transferable skills that you want to be using in the future. And I'm giving away 5 of those. So make sure you can either scan the QR code or go to 12 Days of Career Goals to sign up for this amazing 12-day live event. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. Keep redefining your career. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and I hope to see you all of you back here for our amazing live event tomorrow. See you tomorrow.